Hulk from 2003 received very mixed reviews from critics, to put it lightly, but it's kind of a miracle that it was made at all, considering how much of a hassle Universal had to go through to get a Hulk movie made at all. And although the movie wasn't the best received Marvel movie by any means, it was still deemed enough of a success to warrant a sequel. So, what if we got one? Back in the late 90s and the early 2000s, Universal would try several times to make a movie about the Hulk. With superhero movies based on Marvel characters becoming all the rage thanks to X-Men and Spider-Man, the fact that a Hulk movie was given so much attention really shouldn't be all that surprising. However, despite all the effort, a total of 4 versions of the movie were declined before the eventual version that we got in 2003 was made. The box office taking for that movie was actually really good. It earned $62 million in its opening weekend alone, and would end up doubling its production budget during its full theatrical release. Universal knew that this movie would be a hit, considering that the Hulk is one of the most iconic comic book heroes of all time, and non-comic book readers are already fans of the character due to the Lou Ferrigno TV show. Development on a Hulk 2 would begin in March of 2002, over a year before the first movie was even released. Avi Arad was keen to begin production on a sequel ASAP, and they hoped to have the same people on board, including director Ang Lee and star Eric Bana. Universal hoped to play catch-up to the rival superhero franchises, and they intended to get Hulk 2 in theaters as quickly as 2005. However, despite what Universal was hoping for, I actually don't think Ang Lee or Eric Bana actually intended to return at all. Lee would end up going on to direct Brokeback Mountain, which I do believe he would have chosen over Hulk 2, and Bana has gone on record to say that he considered his appearance as the Hulk to kind of be just a one-time thing in his career, and even in the early 2000s, he didn't really seem all that excited about doing a sequel. Rumors suggested that he might have been replaced by David Duchovny in the role of the Hulk. Now, the plan for this movie would have seemingly taken place at a Native American reservation, where Bruce Banner would be hiding out, still on the run from the government. Now, we'd see him very depressed in this movie. He's apart from the woman he loves, he's out of a job, and he's constantly struggling to maintain his emotions in order to not bring out the Hulk. So we see, in a way, the Hulk has completely ruined his life. So this was really kind of supposed to be like Spider-Man 2. You know, just a movie where we see the hero at their worst, and it would almost show us that being a superhero just kind of sucks. Now, the main antagonist of this movie seemingly would have been the Abomination and the Leader, and at some point the Hulk would have turned into Grey Hulk, an amalgamation of Bruce Banner's darkest thoughts that would actually be battling for control against Green Hulk. Now, despite this, Avi Arad claimed the movie would feature more of Bruce Banner than the Hulk, which sounds a little crazy to me considering they were going to have 2 Hulks in this movie, but whatever. Now, General Ross also would have been featured again, and presumably Betty Ross as well. I imagine that this would be the movie where these two would finally work out how to continue their relationship, despite Bruce being the Hulk. However, production on the movie ended up being delayed due to script revisions, and the deadline for the movie began to creep up, because basically when Universal bought the rights to the Hulk, the contract stipulated that once a Hulk movie had been made, shooting would have to begin within 3 years of its release, or Marvel would take control of the production away from them. So that meant that principal photography would have to be started in 2006 for the movie to be made at all. Now, at one point, Universal reportedly considered having the movie be direct-to-DVD and animated instead of live action, just to lower the cost as well as meet the deadline, but this didn't happen either. Now, ultimately, the deadline just wasn't met, and Marvel Studios took over production in 2006. The sequel was officially cancelled in favor of a reboot, 2008's The Incredible Hulk, which is also considered to be a loose sequel to the Ang Lee one, since it does start off basically where the first movie ended, with Bruce hiding out in Latin America. So now, what do I think of a Hulk 2? Well, honestly, I think the Ang Lee one gets kind of a bad rap. Like, I understand why people don't like it, I do. And there are definitely parts of it I'm not a huge fan of. I think it's poorly paced, it's a very slow movie, there's not nearly enough action in it, and the drama, honestly, doesn't always work. But, I mean, I can't lie, there was clearly a lot of heart and passion in it. I think Eric Bana is kind of an underrated Hulk, and I really do think that there was more story to tell with his version. And, you know, even if this movie was made, there's no guarantee Bana would return, but I would hope he would. But still, I mean, this movie sounds interesting. I like the idea of a movie about the Hulk on the run. I like the idea of seeing him kind of, you know, at his worst. You know, seeing him have to come to terms with who he is now that he's the Hulk. You know, because they wanted this movie to be more heroic. The first movie was kind of a monster got loose kind of deal. This one was kind of supposed to be more of a Hulk becomes a superhero. And so I think this is the movie people really wanted. And no offense to Ang Lee, I don't think he would have returned, and that might have been for the best. Because Ang Lee didn't really want to do an action movie. I mean, he made it clear that Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon was meant to be his only, you know, fighting action movie. And so I think that Universal didn't understand that when they hired him, and that's why the first Hulk was, you know, so little on action, honestly. So maybe it would have been better if they had replaced him for the sequel. Because, yeah, I mean, the sequel does sound a lot better, in my opinion, just being honest. Because, you know, we can get out of the stuffy lab, and we can get, no offense to Nick Nolte, probably better villains. Nick Nolte's fine in the first, I guess. I didn't really like him that much, honestly. I think the decision to make, you know, Bruce's father the Absorbing Man was kind of a cop-out, just to kind of simplify the story, and I wasn't really a big fan of that change, honestly. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of people who love that change. I just don't like it that much, honestly. I think that it involves him too much in the story and makes it a little too much about his daddy issues, which I'm not a real fan of personally. I'm sure that it's got its fans, but I'm just not a fan of that story, honestly. So getting, you know, away from the family drama and having, you know, no offense, you know, better villains, probably, in the form of, you know, Abomination and Leader. You know, because I'm surprised that one of those two wasn't the main villain in the first. It should have been one of those two. I would have gone with the Leader in the first movie, then Abomination in the second, and then Absorbing Man probably in the third. That's how I probably would have structured it. Or maybe Red Hulk in the third. Something like that. You know, I wouldn't have started off with the Absorbing Man, and I would not have made Absorbing Man, you know, David Banner. I wouldn't have done that. That was a kind of silly thing to do. So I think moving away from the father drama would have been for the best for the sequel, honestly. And the idea of setting it at a Native American reservation sounds pretty cool to me. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would be disappointed with that because they would want to see Hulk in the big city, because the San Francisco sequence that we got was really small, and I think a lot of people were let down by it. So, you know, maybe they would have changed their mind. Maybe it would have taken place in, like, San Francisco or something like that. Now, as far as seeing Grey Hulk goes, I think that sounds really cool. You know, kind of a difficulty with duality kind of thing. I like that idea a lot, actually. You know, to see Bruce not only struggling with this, you know, Green Hulk part of him, but also the Grey Hulk part of him, I think that would be just a really cool thing to see. And the idea of a Hulk movie that's kind of, in a way, very much structured like Spider-Man 2, that sounds like a really cool idea, because Hulk is low-key one of Marvel's most tragic characters, in my opinion. So I really do think that this sequel ticks a lot of boxes. I think that this is a movie with a lot of potential. And, you know, I really think the thing that ruined this was the contract. I just don't think that Universal were given enough time to do it, honestly. Because I know that 3 movies sounds like, or not 3 movies, 3 years sounds like a long time, sorry. But I don't think it was. Because, you know, it took them so long to get the first one made. It really did. So I'm not surprised at all that they couldn't get a second one done in 3 years. Especially if their lead actor and director were reluctant to return, from what I've heard. So, yeah, I'm not surprised this movie was canceled. But I actually would have liked to see it. I mean, as far as Hulk movies go, The Incredible Hulk was a big improvement on the original Hulk, in my opinion. But I do kind of wish that they had stuck with you know, Eric Bana. I think that they rebooted way too fast still. Like, 5 years, that's way too fast for a reboot. And yes, I'm aware of The Amazing Spider-Man and Spider-Man 3 being 5 years apart. I know that, and I thought that was too fast too, even though I like The Amazing Spider-Man. But yeah, I think 5 years is just too fast to do a reboot. I don't think they should have ended this franchise as quickly as they did, and I actually would have liked to see more movies. To see, Eric Bana, if he stuck around, get better and better in the role, or maybe see Ang Lee get better and better at directing the Hulk if he did stick around. I just think that would have been cool to see, and that would have been interesting. But it was probably for the best, because as I said, the Edward Norton one was good, and then the Hulk's been in all the Avengers movies, and he's been great in all the Avengers movies. So dare I say, incredible in all the Avengers movies. So yeah, I mean, it was probably for the best that things turned out the way they did. But I can't help but wonder whether or not this movie could have improved on the first one dramatically. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and leave comments down below whether or not you enjoyed it, as well as give me more what if recommendations for more Hulk videos or Spider-Man or anything else Marvel or anything not Marvel. I will try to see what I can do to get a video based on your requests made as soon as I can. Make sure to share this video on all of your various social media platforms, including Instagram. Make sure to follow me on Instagram, Rinzler_Productions, and ring that notification bell to stay updated on all my future videos. Remember, I upload a brand new video every single day at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so make sure to stay tuned and ring that notification bell, and I'll see all of you in the next video tomorrow.